Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Producing Success and Positive Impact session. My name is Inya Lawal, and I'm the Secretary of the Women in Film and Television International, and also the President of Women in Film and Television Africa. And I'm elated to introduce this conversation today. Now, WIFTI has partnered with Pavillon Afriques for this session. And trust me when I say we have some of the most inspiring producers as our panelists today. We're constantly looking for ways to make positive impact, and it's become even more important to find every way to uplift others as we try to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, if there's anything this pandemic has taught us, it's the fact that we're all connected and are on life's journey together. So today's conversation will explore the journey and growth of successful producers in the film and TV industry, with key focus on how they use their knowledge and position to positively impact upcoming creators. And to do justice to this topic, I have the amazing Tope Oshin, Joyce Pierpoline, and Didar Domehri. Now, before I hand this over to them, I'll do a brief introduction of the three of them. Tope Oshin is a multiple award-winning Nigerian director and producer. She has produced some of the highest box office breaking movies in Nigeria, and The Wedding Party 2. Her most popular directing credits include North, New Money, Inline, Journey to Self, and series like MTV Sugar, Castle and Castle, and Tinsel. Tope wrote, produced, and directed the documentary Amaka's Skin, The Women of Nollywood, as a memorial to prominent Nigerian filmmaker Amaka Igwe, who died in 2014. The documentary addressed issues facing Nigerian female directors working in a male-dominated industry. Now, as a follow-up to her documentary, Tope celebrated the new generation of women filmmakers reinventing Nollywood by presenting the BBC documentary, Nigeria Shooting It Like a Woman. Tope has served on juries of the International Emmy Awards, London Feminist Film Festival, Africa International Film Festival, and the Eco International Film Festival. Next, we have Joyce Pierpoline. She is an independent film producer and founder of Pierpoline Films based in New York. She's best known for producing controversial character-driven narratives that tackle issues of gender and sexuality. Now, Joyce has produced several films like In the Company of Men, the Sundance award-winning cult favorite Teeth, considered one of the top 10 films of all time, followed by Happy Tears, Angelica, and The Transfiguration, which premiered at the Cannes. She currently serves on the board of BAFTA North America, where she's the co-chair of the Film and Television Committee. She also serves on the board of WIFTI, member of the European Producers Club and European Film Academy, and the Producers Guild of America, where she's a co-founder of the Women's Impact Network, promoting gender equality in the industry. And I have Didar Domehri, founder of Maneki Films, who used to be the head of international sales of film distribution, Playtime, and is now vice president of Unifrance's Feature Film Producers Committee. She's also a member of the Union Independent Producers, group leader for the European Producer Workshop, and member of CNC's commission. She's also a vice president of the selection committee of CNC's Aide aux Cinéma du Monde. I hope I pronounced that well. She's a consultant for the Torino Film Lab and for Cannes Critics Week's Next Step program. She produced 16 feature films, official selections at the Cannes Film Festival, National Film Festival, to name a few. Thank you all so much, my dear, for joining this session. And you were all busy and we pulled you in. We thought we had to have, and yes, we have to have this conversation. This is somewhat an informal type of panel, and more of a conversation amongst the three. But I will ask the first few questions and let the conversation there. Now, let me start with you, Didar. You say where even sustainable or are the most effective and sustainable ways, the many barriers to entry for filmmakers. Maybe you can also give us a little how you started in the industry. Very interesting at all.
So, a little, very quickly, what is my background and how I started in the industry? I would say that it's interesting because I've never thought that I'd become a producer. I studied law in law school and I really wanted to become a judge. So this is quite far from being a producer, but I was very, very passionate by cinema all the time. And so during my summer, I was always going in to be an intern in law firm. And the other month, I was working in a production company. It could be advertising, cinema, publicity, whatever. And but that was my secret passion. I never dared to think that I could, make it a job. And then at the end of my law school, I really decided that I wanted to specialize on the audiovisual field and to try to find a way to make it a job. And this is where I decided not to become a judge at the end of my law school and studies. And I started to launch the first website that was in 1999, in 2000, at the very beginning of the broadband. It was not existing, actually. There was no broadband. And we were basically broadcasting short films and even feature films on internet, which was totally crazy at that time, 22 years ago, basically. It was so in advance that 2 years after a great experience I had there, I started to work with a sales company called Film Distribution, where I was head of sales, starting to export French and foreign films to the world. A job I didn't know was existing at all, and I loved it. I was so happy and excited to discover so many filmmakers and travel the whole world with them, and most of all, to understand what was the value of a film and how we could launch a director on the international market, and how we could do that, and how we could also acquire films, read scripts. So I learned a lot during my time at Film Distribution. And then 8 years after, I decided to create my own production company. That was in 2009, now 12 years ago. And so now I've produced like almost 16 feature films. And I think that this experience as a sales agent was very, very important to me as a producer now. And I've been always very excited to work with first-time directors. This is what I was doing when I was at Film Distribution, and I did a lot also as a producer. And so the impact you can have also on young, directors is very important as a sales agent, as a producer, and how basically you empower them to with their first feature film, and then you build around them their career as a producer. This is something I'm really, really, interested in. What could I say about the many barriers to entry for filmmakers? I think this is also why I think the role of a producer is so important, because we are there a key partner for the director, to tell him on every stage, of the film production, on the development stage, on the financing, and then when the film is finished and we are launching it on the international and national market. And I think that we are here also to, of course, tell him what could be, of course, the value of his film without neglecting the artistic, what is at stake on making such a film, and the first feature film for a director is really, really important. So we really need to take care that this director has everything that that he needs to make it happen, because if his first feature film is a good success, goes to the right place, the right festival with the right distributor, and has enough fundings, so he can make the best film out of it, then the second will be much more easier. So I think that I've worked a lot with directors in that sense, to empower them as much as I can. And of course, it's very difficult for a filmmaker to make it happen for a first film. So there is so many barriers. There's so many films around the world. So why this very specific project should be produced, why this specific director should have his chance, I think as producers, we're here to help them on that. Voilà.
Jump in quickly, just out of my personal curiosity. So do you, or have you worked only with first-time filmmakers?
No.
Like you're, oh, okay.
No,
so
no,
you
no.
with established filmmakers as well?
Of course, yes, I did. Yeah. But I think that what I'd like to keep on doing is doing both, still work with first-time director and keep on working with those filmmakers who became, much more, confirmed now, and also with other confirmed directors. But I'm really passionate by both.
I'll describe you as a director's best friend, because this is the kind of support we need. I'm primarily a director, so like this is the first thing I'm not a business person. I don't necessarily want to discuss, the naira and kobo or the money aspect of it, or how the film will sell or whatever. I just want to be able to focus and concentrate. So people like you are people like we just want to hold on to, like, for our dear lives. Like, do all the business work for me, please, and guide me, and just help me create in peace. So I'm one of those directors who appreciate the work you do, and I'm saying that now if you've never heard it. On behalf of all directors, thank you for the work.
Great, please say to all the directors I'm working with.
Awesome.
Absolutely awesome. And Tope, I agree with you when you say Didar is a director's best friend. Now, let me go to you. You describe yourself as an artist and storyteller dedicating to changing the world one frame at a time. Now, take us through your career journey, how you started in Nollywood, and what challenges you've had.
Okay, so my journey, it's probably similar to the journey of a few people, but also unique in itself. I started my journey as a filmmaker, as an actor. I studied film in university, and at the time, though, I pretty much wanted to be behind the camera. But as your journey in film school, studying film in an educational atmosphere would teach you, you have to, go through all the departments. And the easiest department at the time, as I was assigned, was for the convocation play, and I had to, take a lead role in the convocation play. And then I was forced into acting. I didn't want to act, so my career in acting started. I got, a couple of commendations for it and decided to stick with it. It seemed to me at the time like an easy inroad into the industry. As from school, I started getting to be able to attend auditions within the working industry and getting roles. So naturally, I started off, as an actor. And also, though I had always been an artist, right from being a little girl. I was always the one telling stories with my sister. We create like comics, tell the stories, design the stories, have storytelling sessions every evening. It was really my thing. But I didn't think of, being a director in that essence, or being behind the cameras. I felt probably the best, I'd be a screenwriter and nobody would see me, and just churn out the script or whatever and send it out, but never the face to be seen. As I went on in my journey as an actor, I met this amazing filmmaker, Maka Igwe, who at the time was one of the very few female filmmakers we had in Nigeria. And after conversations, and I was cast in her film in the lead role. And when we went through the script workshops and the story workshops and the rehearsals and all of that, she seemed pretty intrigued by the fact that I was interested in so much more than just my character. I was interested in what was going on with, how the characters are interconnected, how the story comes together, all the elements, to put the film together and everything. And, she mentioned to me, you should be a director. I said, well, I understand that, but it's not exactly what women do in Nigeria and Africa. I didn't see a lot of female directors around me except her. And for her, she had this larger than life image that you just never thought of her in terms of being a woman. She had such firm control of her craft and everything. So she was like, you don't even think, like we young women at the time, we didn't think of her as a woman. We just felt, okay, she's this big filmmaker that's there and we are the females. So she sort of gave me the encouragement I needed and told me, if this is what you want to do, by all means, get up and do it. And, she promised me whatever support that I needed. If you need the support, if you need the mentoring, I'm here for you. Look at me and know that you can do it. And that seemed like the push that I needed to say, okay, because it's like what took the veil off my eyes. Like, you don't have to, you can do much more. You can go as far as you want to go, in what makes you happy and what gives you joy. And that's sort of what encouraged me to start looking at that. So I went back into focus training in storytelling behind the camera and directing and all of that, and seeking her mentorship and reading and watching movies and going back into the books and training and everything. And, made the leap. For me, the most difficult part was saying it. You know how it is, you think of something, but saying it is like affirming it. So, now going back into the industry, I would actually verbally say to my male colleagues, do you know I'm going to become a director? And there was always that look of, why? Was the first question. It was always why. I had some people ask me, is it that you're no longer getting acting roles? I said, no, that's not it. I actually did not start out to become an actor, but I found myself there because it's what I see that, women do naturally when they're in the arts or when they're in film. So I stubbornly continued on my journey and said, this is what I'm going to become. This is what I want to be. And along the journey, I discovered also that just like my mentor, I had to take on the stance of not being tied to a gender in that sense. And I feel like that is sort of how I got the strength to start and got the strength, the staying power to stop seeing myself as a woman and just think, I'm just a director, I'm just a storyteller. I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, I'm not, it's not gender based. It's just a story that needs to be told. It's, a job that I want to do. And that's pretty much how I attacked it and I faced it. And I refuse to look around me and think you're alone or you're standing alone or, there aren't a lot of women around you. I experienced a couple of problems and raised eyebrows with crew members, with even actors. At the beginning of my career, I was privileged to be a director on one of the biggest series in Africa, still is, Tinsel. And of course, I was the only woman. And till date, even after 5 years after leaving, I still have been the only female director on the show. So joining the show, there were raised eyebrows like, she's one of our directors, she's a she. It's not one of the guys that we're used to. How is supposed to relate with her? Does she know what she's supposed to do? So there's always those questions, just based off of the fact that you're a woman. Did people just naturally assume that you don't know the technical terms or you don't know the technical work or you're just there to be pretty? So those are the challenges that I faced at the beginning of my career. Is she good enough? Does she know what she's doing? She's a woman. This is not a woman's job. She should be acting or she should be the makeup artist or things like that. But with what I devised of myself, working on myself, not to see my gender or its limitations or seeing it as, a weakness in any way, I was able to move beyond, all of that by just focusing on the story to be told, focusing on my competencies, focusing on developing myself and being the very best in every space and telling every story as best as I could. I realized that just like me, it was happening to people and they were just seeing me as a storyteller, just seeing me as a director and not as a woman or as a girl or as a female. And that sort of worked, and left and right and everywhere. I started having young women writing me and asking to be mentored and asking to be taught and asking questions and wanting to be like me in that sense. For them it was the sheer audacity of just getting up and doing what you want to do, irrespective of the cultural restrictions within Nigeria and within Africa, which is, you know, how we know it is. It's a highly patriarchal society. So if you allow that limitation be put on you, then you will stay in that space. After a while of doing my work and just focusing and, you know, doing what I had to do the way I wanted to do it, I realized that everybody fell in line. And, you know, today I'm happy to say that we have more than the 1 or 2 female directors in Nigeria, you know, because there's that strength that comes from seeing other people do it and seeing other people shine in it, where, you know, you mentioned, okay, let's say the top 10 directors in Nigeria, the top 10 directors in Africa, and you're able to mention females amongst them, you're able to mention women among them. That sort of empowers everyone else to say, yes, I can do it too. I can be that woman, you know, I can rise up to that position as well. So that in a nutshell has been my journey. It started out as a very lonely one. But right now, I'm not lonely at all in the least. On any list or any cinema releases or whatever you have, there are always women represented in there. And, you know, I'm happy to be part of that movement at this point.
Are you also mentoring young filmmakers?
Absolutely. I'm very passionate about that. As a matter of fact, every time I get on set to film, either I'm directing or producing, I always have at least 2 mentees with me. It's a thing that I do. So there's the 2 or 3. My preference is for young women because I know it's doubly difficult for us. So if I have 3, there'll be 2 girls and 1 guy. But I always have that, you know, because there's the part of talking and encouraging. There's also the part of them seeing you on set, doing the work, watching you and learning and seeing how you overcome obstacles, you know, and how you do your work. So it's a thing for me. I'm never on set without, you know, 2 or 3 interns around me, you know, just there asking questions and learning. And I feel like, you know, I get some sense of fulfillment from it. So beyond focusing on the story, you know, I like to be able to hand that down. Do you know why I made those choices? Okay, do you understand, you know, based on this and that? So it's something that I always do, that I'm big on. I think I'll do it forever and always. And, you know, apart from that, I regularly also hold like workshops for young women and young people to have that one-on-one conversations, that one-on-one teaching experience beyond watching me do it, you know, where you can actually ask questions, where we can, you know, dig deep and talk about these things in details and, you know, see how we can become better in the industry.
Can I just ask you, do you work between the UK and Nigeria, or you predominantly work in Nigeria?
I have done most of my work in Nigeria, but I have done some filming across Africa as well as in the US. I've filmed in New York, in Texas, in Kenya. I haven't done any filming in the UK yet, but I should next year. I'm working on, a story that's the UK and Nigeria, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's wonderful. What did you shoot in Texas? Tell me.
So it's my most recent film. It's currently in pre-production, post-production, I beg your pardon. It's called Here Love Lies. It's a thriller. I have always wanted to move my storytelling career towards telling unconventional stories. So it's a love story that quickly becomes a thriller. It's the story of a young woman from Africa who journeys out here in the search of love, and then opens up a lot of can of worms that we are going to discover in the story. So it's a story that's rooted in tourism. It's rooted in unconventional love. It's rooted in cross-cultural experiences and our differences and our similarities as well. And so I think that's the much I can say before I let everything out of the can. But I'm looking at releasing it next year. I'm also looking at it doing some sort of festival rounds towards the end of this year, working hard on finishing it at the moment. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Tope. And I look forward to seeing the film when it's as soon as it's ready. Joyce, can you tell us a little bit about your background? because you sit on several decision-making boards. And as you know, we recently had an increase in the number of women hired in influential media positions. What do you think, what impact do you think this will have on the industry?
So just to give you a little background on myself, I started my career in France working for the Cannes Film Festival for many years. And then I did the I worked for the two sidebar sections, both the Critics Week and the Directors Fortnight, doing the pre-selection of the American films. And then I moved into, and I also worked with the French company UGC doing acquisitions and co-productions with them for many years. And then I became an independent producer based out of New York for a long time. And in that capacity, I'm a member of the Producers Guild of America. And also I co-founded something called the Women's Impact Network. And it's an organization which is a committee within the Producers Guild, but to promote gender equality. And so, you know, what we really, our goal was in order to kind of just promote and help and be a networking system for women, and so that we could help people get, you know about what's going on, know about jobs, you know, and we would have regular events with both producers and you know, below the line crew, like directors of photography, assistant directors, line producers, production managers, so that the producers could start to get to know other women working in the industry, so that when, you know, it's always a question of when you're crewing up a movie, it is just being able to make an effort as a woman producer to hire as many qualified women as possible. And I think it is really particularly important with cinematographers, because the number of women cinematographers is extremely, extremely low. And also in the Cinematographers Union in the United States, I think it's like, you know, less than 2% or something like that. So, and it's very difficult for them to get into the union. So there is an organization called, I believe it's called the XX, and it's for women cinematographers, and they have the reels up and everything, so that people can really start to see what their work is and start to hire them, so that they could get enough of the qualifying, you know, credits to become part of the Cinematographers Union. So it's all about knowledge and networking and just, you know, looking just a little bit further, you know, not just taking the people that are in your immediate group that you know, that you worked with on the last movie. You know, it's seeing who else and being able to give someone a chance who has maybe not had as much experience, but, you know, who's also maybe a lot hungrier, you know, and it's about, you know, getting new blood and new people in the industry. And, you know, there was a study done with Sundance, and I believe it's USC or UCLA. Stacy Smith ran it. And they realized that, you know, when you interview people for jobs, it's all about just making sure, it's not about giving a woman a job, it's just making sure that one or two of the applicants are women. That's all. Just going outside and really looking. And when they did that, they realized that more women got hired, because there is a very, very strong, you know, male networking group. And, you know, they've been traditionally many more men in the industry. So it's much easier to find a man to do a job. So, and I think it's not just about women, it's about general inclusion. You know, looking around and finding other people that you don't necessarily know, and seeing what you can do and seeing what their work is and giving them a chance, you know? And I think a lot of times when you give somebody new a chance, they perform a lot better than people who are used to it, because they're so happy to have that opportunity. And it can be really wonderful and rewarding for everybody all around. So it's something that I have tried to do on my films, is to be able to really do a deep dive into looking at other people that I don't necessarily know, and seeing who I can hire do it, and particularly in the key positions, and all the keys to hire women as much as possible, and women of color in particular. I think it's really important to do that. So.
Wow, that's very interesting. Can I add something? I think that our role is key also in terms of hiring, as much women as we can, to help them, to help the upcoming female directors also, when they find, they feel maybe, not enough strength or brave enough, to do their first feature film, even if they're equally, at school 50-50 with the boys. To make their first feature film takes much more time. So it's always interesting to question that. But also I think that we have a role in the kind of story and the kind of film that we produce and direct, and what kind of story and what kind of main character we have. And definitely the missing piece for a long time has been, women characters.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. It's something that I also noticed. If you look at Nigerian stories, Nigerian films that have been told over the decades, you'll find that at the very beginning, there was always the recurring factor of the female characters being subservient. So they were either subservient or they were the antagonists, in the sense that they were always the ones wrong with the story. So it would be the successful man and the wicked mistress. It would be the good businessman and his wicked stepmother. So it was
always a wicked woman around the corner.
Exactly, that was the cause of the downfall. So, for me, starting out about 20 years ago, that for me was, why is this always the reason? And then I felt the simple reason, or the simple solution, is if we have more women telling our own stories, then we can fix this. So moving forward, where I had stories that I created, I always made sure I created a strong female lead. She had to be a strong female lead who is in charge of making all the decisions in her life. Because in reality, there are loads of women like this. I'm a woman like that. There are lots, you ladies are like that. There are loads of women like that who don't have to look at a man to make a decision in her life, or, those important decisions in life. This is how we are. We are not, the weaklings that, we are being portrayed to be. So that's what I did moving forward. Like, let's create strong female lead characters. Even where we have the female supporting characters, they don't necessarily always have to be antagonists. They don't necessarily have to be weak. They don't necessarily have to, continue and perpetuate the tradition that we have borne for years of being at the mercy of men to make even the tiniest decisions in their lives: who to get married to, what career to, to focus on, what schools to go, what to do, what to eat, what to wear. So in these little subtle ways, I put in stories that I create, or even projects that I'm invited to direct. This, for me, is a very important thing that I look at. I look at the story and I'm like, what's the position of the female in the story? What does it say about the woman? What is it going to change about the culture, the boys' culture that we've had for so long? And it's just in helping, even the men that perpetuate the culture to remember that you have women in your lives as well. And I'm sure that not every woman you have in your life is a weak woman. You know, in as much as, yes, we know that there's the possibility of where you have strong, you have the weak, but not every woman in existence in Africa, in Nigeria, in the world is weak. There are some who are strong, there's some who are leaders, there's some who are doing great and mighty things, and we need to tell those stories. And that's the position of women as directors, as cinematographers, as writers. If we are not in these positions and we are not helping those who are aspiring and pulling them up together with us to say, you know, come together, let's tell our stories the way we want to be seen, the way we want to be. Even, you know, in situations where that is not the case, a luxury that a storyteller has is to be able to create worlds that we want to see. So even if that's not our reality, we should be able to build that reality in our stories, in our films, in our scripts, in our novels, and say, this is the woman that I want to see from Africa. This is the woman I want to see from the US. This is the woman I want to see from Europe. I want to see women in this light, and I want women to take this position in the world, and creating those and helping our audiences to look at that and immerse themselves in that, I think, is a way of also strengthening the world and, you know, the situation that we find ourselves in. So that's a very important and resonant point that, you know, Didar talked about. And, you know, it's something that I'm very, very, very big on, you know, and I hope that more and more women filmmakers would tap into that as well and do that deliberately so that we can change the narrative.
It is our responsibility to be hiring the people, to be looking at the scripts, making sure that the characters are well-rounded and are motivated, you know, that have a drive and that are defined more than just by their sex or a sexual trauma that happened to them. In so many films, they were, you know, raped as a child or abused as a child. So that defines their role in the work, whether it be a series or a film or whatever, without just being a well-rounded character, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
You're right, so right.
So I think it is being diligent and looking at all of the characters that way. You know, how many times is it the foreigner or the person of color who is the criminal?
Yep.
Okay. Because of course, white men are never criminals.
And that's a very, very good fact, because my new film that I talked about, the antagonist is a white male.
Very good.
So
it is our responsibility to, I think, you know, to take our background, what we know, who we are, and infuse that in our work in many, many different ways, you know?
Definitely, sure.
So another thing that I'm involved with is I'm on the board of BAFTA, the British Academy, and in that capacity, we have been looking at you know, all of the rules and the regulations and everything, and also the membership of the Academy, so that it accurately represents the population and the film industry, and also to be able to really, instead of just, for example, the people who apply to become a member, to really go out and do grassroots work and look for other people and include them in the Academy so that they feel properly represented. And I think, you know, we did many, many different changes this year for the award season of 2021. And so, and I think they were well reflected in the awards this year, and in the kinds of films and the filmmakers that were first shortlisted and nominated, and then who also won. But that's an ongoing process, and it's all about awareness, I believe. You know, we have to be aware first, and then we can start to make change. So it is our responsibility to make other people aware of what's going on.
It's great that you say that. I mean, on your side, where you where you are in that kind of position to make those selections and all of that is very important. And on my side as a filmmaker, as a director, you know, working like hands dirty in the game, I have had it personally as my responsibility to directly train and, you know, directly mentor and directly pull people up with me. We are the ones on the field telling the stories, and we want to be seen by people like you. But most importantly, as I tell every young woman that I've worked with or that has interned with me, that I don't just want you to be in the number. So there is the place of inclusion, which the whole world is clamoring for and we're all working towards. At the same time, I don't want a situation where we are just being included because we want to make up the number. I want us to be included because we are good, because we're telling stories that matter, because we can stand toe to toe with, you know, any man anywhere in the world, you know, because it could easily go the other way, where it's a blind thing of, okay, I have to give a woman a chance, I have to make sure women are included, I have to make sure that women are counted. But when we are counted, I want us to be counted like good. You cannot argue the fact that this is the top selection of women. Where we're talking about filmmaking in general, these women are good. They're not just here because we're trying to give women a chance. They're here because they're actually great at what they do. And that has been my drive. And this is what I tell them all the time. I don't want us to be in any list where they say, oh, the top 10 best female filmmakers or the best top 10 best female directors. I want you to aspire to be the best, simple, irrespective of your gender. So when we have those situations where we can be included by people like Joyce or helped by people like Didar, we are good, simple. You know, Joyce is going to look at the film, or Didar is going to look at the film and say, this is such a great film, who made it? And then discover on the back end that she's a woman. You know, I want a world where it's not a situation where we're saying, okay, let's look for women first, and then we now look at their films afterwards. So it's my dream for it to be the other way around, for the product to be good, for our skill to be good. And then you discover that, you know, as a beautiful cherry on the top, it's a woman that made the film.
Sure. So what you're questioning is the positive discrimination.
Yes, it could easily sway that way, you know, and for me on this side, it's for us to ensure that, you know, when we are counted.
So you think that positive discrimination is not needed?
No, not necessarily my point. It's just to ensure that, you know, it cannot be discounted in any way.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's one point that I want to make. You know, women are 50% of this population, okay? Women have the right to fail just like men. Yep. So like, just because a woman has a film that doesn't do gangbusters at the box office doesn't mean they're not a success. And then, oh no, it's a reflection of all other women. You know, women need to be able to fail exactly like men and pick up and make the next film. And so that's what I sometimes feel like women can be under a microscope in a different way. Like you give a woman a chance and then maybe they don't work out. Okay, they don't work out. But like a guy, you hire a guy and they don't work out either. You know, like, so people need just to be open and not be defined just by their gender.
Yep. All right.
Maybe we can also speak about the impact that we can have on the industry. You know, how we do, how do we create positive impact? And if we had mentors or if we are mentoring ourselves, this is something I think is super, super important, because we all dream when we are young in the industry or we're starting in the industry that someone, you know, is helping us to, you know, to walk in the crowd and to see the light quicker. And this is why I've been always very, very eager to participate in a lot of workshops. So I'm working with the many different workshops, including IAVE, which is a European entrepreneur workshop, when we are empowering producers from all around the world. And I think this is a place that is very important also to be able to help young producers with their, emerging talents also to make up their films. I'm also I've been also working a lot with the Torino Film Lab and the next program by the Critics Week that are helping the directors that have been selected in competition for the short films and that have a project of feature film. They organize a session of 1 week when they invite mentors, producers, sales agents and distributors to work with them on their first feature film project. And I've been working a lot with them in that sense. And I think that we are all very busy and we all have a lot of projects, etc. But the time that we take to share our experience and empower those emerging producers and directors is key and super important. And I think that as much as I can, I will keep on doing that. And a lot of people are always telling me, why are you doing so many workshops? And what's the point? It's so much time consuming. Yes, it is. But it's also super important in our industry to play collective, I think. And to share that experience is becoming more and more difficult to make it happen. So let's help each other. Let's help all these, young female producers as well, and directors, as you said, but also, all the young ones that are starting in the industry. The industry is in a very, very special moment when everything is switching also with the arrival of the platforms that are taking over. So, we need to help each other, to still being able to produce on an independent way and to keep on doing exactly in producing the stories that we want to tell and not to let ourselves impose the other stories, to keep on doing that work. We should definitely work all together.
A real commitment to mentoring, both through the Producers Guild and the Women's Impact Network, through BAFTA, really helping and being there for new and young talent. I also always have assistants, and I try and have really kind of mentor my assistants and have them grow within the company so that they take on more responsibility and everything. And then because what I want them to do is to see if they like it, and then and then help them go out and to be able to make their own films. One of my assistants, she recently, oh my God, she was my assistant 10, 15 years ago. 10 years ago, she was my assistant for, I don't know, a year, 2 years. And just in Berlin in 2020, her film won the Best First Film Prize that she produced.
Must be super, so proud.
I am so, so proud of her. And now she's working with a director who was part of the next program. How to film in the Critics Week and is part of the next program. So so it's wonderful to just to help and pass it on. It's really it's so important, and it's so personally gratifying when that happens.
Wow, Joyce, I just love your process of having interns who grow to become assistants and then who are now independent producers. It just goes to show how important it is to have some kind of direction, and also having a place to start you off, build you, and then allow you to have some incubation period of growth. I think it's the kind of access that every growing creative should want to have. And that leads me to the last question for you all. What is your definition of success?
Yeah, on my side, my definition of success definitely is impact and wealth. When I say impact in terms of my work, in terms of what I'm trying to do, all I've done my life, most of my life is being a filmmaker, is being a storyteller. I want to be able to look back and see the impact of my films, the impact my films have made on individuals, on the society, on my bottom line, the women around me, the women I've spent my career mentoring and, training and you know, basically being there for. I want to see them go, just like Joyce mentioned, you know, and do really great things and make really great movies, and, you know, see the impact follow down the line. That would make me feel like, you know, I'm successful, you know, as a storyteller, as a mentor, as a role model for these people. And then also wealth from the same passion, you know, my life work. I mean, if we keep doing something and we are able to get that reward all round, that for me is my definition of success, when I'm able to, you know, get that wealth from it, and also, you know, see my legacy doing well and impact visible down the line. That's my definition. Then I would say that, you know, Tope Oshin is successful, and I'm looking forward to that day when, you know, I can happily say that, you know, I can define myself as a success all around.
And you, Joyce?
Success for me is being like really proud of the movies that I have made, and then, you know, and having an impact on the world, you know, in whatever way it is, to have to make films that really have something to say about our society and what it is, and the way that they've made, the way that I make them as well. But I think the real, really success for me is being happy with what you do, who you work with, and the kinds of films that you make. It's not always defined by money. You know, it is really like, this is what I think, particularly the film business and producing, it's a way of life. So you have to be happy with that way of life, because it's not a 9-to-5 job at all. It's the way you look at the world. It's, you know, it's the people that are around you, and it's what you know, how you define your year. It's going to Berlin, it's going to Cannes and everything. It's where you spend your time. So I think it's really important that you love what you do and passionate about it. And, you know, and I think that's what, you know, brings happiness. So,
yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that you know, what is really important as a, you know, for a producer is the kind of film that it produces, because basically it becomes its DNA, it becomes the DNA of the company. The films that you produce becomes a little bit what you are and what you represent, and people are coming to you because of those films. And so the moment that you choose to work with a director in a very specific project, then you have all these questions, you know, why am I doing this film? Why am I going basically to work on this film for 3, 4, 5 years and get married to that person for such a long time? Is it worth it? Is this film going to change something in the world? Are we going to have a very specific impact? And of course, it's a long road to be able to take a film, you know, project out of, you know, Earth, and to bring it there up to the air and to the stars. And when you succeed on doing it and bringing the film to a place where people sees the films has really an impact and a very specific, you know, makes the difference, basically, this is where you can be happy. And there are really few moments actually as a producer when you're happy. and so the word of success for me, it's a little bit abstract, basically. This is something it seems that every film is unique, every project is unique, and you're always like, you know, one project's chasing another one, and you're always fighting like a soldier to make it happen. So yes, you kind of fulfilled when you know, succeeded in bringing the project from point A to point B, and then people are saying this is really making the difference. But it's a long way, you know. For me, success is really an abstract world.
Wow. Success is an abstract world. That is powerful, really powerful. Now, I've taken so much from this conversation, and I believe that it's important to continue to share teachable moments like this from our journeys and experiences, and highlight the important lessons for everyone, not just upcoming creatives to learn from. Your experience at any level, no matter how you define it, can be used for positive impact. And when you positively impact others, the industry grows. And I'm so glad we spoke about mentorship, because we cannot overemphasize its importance. It helps to have some sort of career direction from mentors as this slingshot grows within the industry and even outside the industry. Thank you once again, Didar, Tope, Joyce, for an insightful conversation. And thanks to everyone who joined us today.